afternoon, everyone. I'm Daniel Newman from Allison AI, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about creative analytics, the intersection between media and creative, and how creative has become the algorithm and how you can win across um, major ad platforms with creative. A little bit about myself. First, I'm super excited to be here. I think it's the 8th year or so that I've been at App Promotion Summit. Yes, I'm a little bit old. My first APS, I think, was around 2015. And I'm very happy to be here and tell a little bit more about what we do. I handle global business development for Allison AI. Essentially, Allison AI is a comprehensive creative analytics platform. We help advertisers, brands, and agencies understand what makes their creative effective or impactful on paid social. Um, this is essentially what we do. I'll start with a short video.
So this is where we get to this idea that creative is the new targeting. Targeting is not the thing that's going to give you that competitive edge anymore. It is really all about how your creative shows up on our platforms, how creative you can be that is going to give you that performance edge. And in fact, creative is often the most important factor when it comes to predicting the audience your ad will reach and the price that you pay for that ad. Over 56% of auction outcomes can be attributed to creative. I actually think it's a little higher than this these days. And the thing is, we don't need the army of data scientists anymore. We need to be creative.
So, creative is the new targeting. One of our colleagues in Meta, the video that you saw, basically spoke about the importance of creative, and I think it varies. It varies in which conference you go to or listen to, but essentially anywhere between 50 and some researches and places even say 90% of the campaign outcome on your paid social or paid user acquisition is as a result of the creative that you're using. Um, yes, so Nielsen, for example, mentioned that even up to 89% of the campaign outcome is dictated by creative. Now, this is not really how it was always in user acquisition and paid marketing or marketing in general. Just like not too not too long, but a little bit of history. So back in the days, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, when I was in the agency business and I was speaking to marketers, a lot of the conversation were around bid and budget optimization, how you really can nail uh, PPC, paid social, display, etc., and really how to master the best media optimization there is. Really, back in the days, 1994, it was all about CPM buying. Then, basically, 2000s, Google Ads, keywords-based targeting. Um, Pretty much 2007 till 2014, when really Facebook advertising started. It was all about demographic, interest-based targeting, um, lookalike audience developed. And then pretty much since 2018, a lot of these issues or things around privacy, GDPR started. So 2021, iOS 14, which really was an earthquake in the let's say in the traditional tracking in the way that things are tracked and optimized. 2021, Google, I would say that around 2021, a lot of the major ad platforms started obviously to put a huge focus on machine learning, automation, really sophisticated ad platform. So PMax, Advantage Plus by Meta. 2023, TikTok really started to boom with, we call it attention economy. But really now, because of all this change or evolution, now because of the loss of because of all of these changes in privacy, loss of signals, really creative is king and creative is the new targeting. By the way, I'm curious, like raise hand if this resonates with what you're thinking of. Like, is this how you see media evolve over time? Yeah. Okay, great. Super. So this is create the loss of signals and the change in media has created a lot of challenges. But when we look at it, we try to split it into the marketing or the growth challenges, meaning UA people, growth people, paid social, as well as the creative teams. Obviously, similar challenges, but somewhat different. So obviously, as we mentioned, in terms of the media growth, some of the challenges that started are around loss of signals, um, limited optimization, a lot of obviously automatic buying system, machine learning algorithm, TCPA or advanced campaign modes. Obviously, creative fatigue. So creative fatigue is an issue. Um, the fact that obviously um, each platform is unique. So the creative that you would use on Meta would not necessarily work well in a creative that you would use on YouTube or on other platforms. And again, loss of signals. Creative teams historically, or it's now changing, but historically, there was really a siloed approach or silos between the creative and the media. Really, when the creative team shipped the creative to media, they didn't really know, or they still don't really know what happened to that creative. Is it performing? Is it not performing? Um, a lot of wasteful ad budget goes to A/B testing. So roughly 80 to 90% of your creatives will not do well and will fail. Um, Manual tagging or manual naming conventions that creative teams are doing in order to really try to understand or classify or categorize the creatives that they're using is also a challenge. And these long cycles between creative and media takes time, takes money, takes effort. And this is what we're trying to do to really understand what makes creative work. And how do we do it? So essentially, and this is kind of like a high level of the solution that we're providing in the market. The first thing that we do is we're connected to the major ad platforms. We look at all the creatives that you guys are running on paid social. We pull the creatives. We then extract or detect the visual components within your creative. So, for example, the concept, the product, the duration of the video that you're using, the format, even the emotions of the people in the creative. We basically automatically tag with 10 different AI engines, both common models or LLM models that are in the market, as well as proprietary models. We do this type of extractions of elements, not just for your own creatives, but we also look at your competitor creatives to really give you benchmark analysis of what's happening in the market. And we don't, and we also do, we then do, based on the analysis and the insights, we try to provide you actionable recommendations on things that you can do that would move the needle. So, for example, by changing the format, changing the hero, changing the CTA, etc. And all of these insights are then translated to a brief, a storyboard, as well as a video asset. So this is essentially kind of like the workflow of how we do it: creative tagging, creative insights, competitive intelligence, as well as a smart brief, all based on your data. So this is an app, in this case, a food delivery app. And this is where we really try to give a scientific approach into a creative. So basically, we call it that we turn creative into hundreds or even thousands of data sets. And these are some of the things that we look at. We look at colors, transition pace, product placement, concept, atmosphere, value proposition. So for example, if I'm a food delivery app and I want to understand, okay, if I'm doing some of my creatives with special promotions or discounts, what is the actual effectiveness of specific discounts? A 10% versus a 20%, free shipping versus a different promotion. So these are some of the things that we look at. Um, Now, just to give you an idea of how it would look like. So literally our AI scans a creative, and looking at the timeline, it will show you exactly each and every data point or each and every element where it appears in your creative. So as an example, what I'll try to do is give you some common use cases, some example, just to kind of like tease you and give you an idea of some of the really cool things and valuable things that we do. So for example, we look at the type of whether it's UGC or gameplay. In this case, again, just dummy data or for demonstration purposes. But we try to understand the type of creative, how it impacts basically performance metrics. For some customers, it could be upper funnel. For some, it could be lower funnel. But any basically North Star metric that our customers have, whether it's IPM or CPI or more advanced metrics such as ROAS or others, we try to really pinpoint how the concept is impacting performance. Another example, which is very common when we work with apps, is the appearance of an app interface. Very common creatives produce creatives showing the app interface. What is the actual effectiveness of that? Whether the app appears on a device, whether it's it's an iPad or it's an Android or it's an iOS, we look at all of these things and how it really impacts performance. App CTA, so the same creative, different CTA. Play now, download now, whatever the CTA is, we also look at that, as well as colors, black color, orange color. So instead of really guessing, reducing the guesswork and adding the scientific layer on top of that. Another common use case that some of our customers are looking at is the size of the logo, whether a large logo or small logo, as well as the location, how it impacts performance. Now, just as another idea or another concept, as I mentioned, every platform is unique. What would work on Meta, on Reels, on Newsfeed will not necessarily work on YouTube or TikTok or what have you. So this is where we also look at cross-platform comparison, looking at different elements and how they impact performance per channel. Yes. Another use case, very common use case, is the effectiveness of using specific characters or influencers. So for example, customers will come to us and say, okay, we have this big sponsorship or brand ambassador, so-and-so. We're investing a lot of money in that influencer, but how is it really moving the needle for us? So we typically look at, for example, the use of this influencer. Yes, of course. So that's another use case where we try to measure and give insights in terms of the use of UGC creator, influencer, etc. Okay, so we've done the analysis or we've done the extraction of the elements, but okay, that's good, but what the hell do we do with it? So within the tool, what we also do is using the analysis, using the visual extraction, we try to provide you with actionable recommendation within the creatives that the team can do and how it's predicted to impact performance. So either adding, replacing, or removing a certain element and the predicted impact in performance. So for example, by changing voiceover male compared to voiceover female, we predict that it'll impact the ROAS by X%. By removing certain, for example, removing emojis or replacing the music style, it'll impact performance. So really, we call it creative iteration or Allison iteration. We really provide actionable recommendations on how specific features or elements can impact bottom line performance outcomes. Great. Now, we also look at different campaign objectives or different campaign goals or different step of the funnel. Obviously, We understand that some campaigns have different objective or goals, installs, engagement, monetization, retention. Obviously, the analysis that we do also takes into account the campaign objective, campaign goals, into the analysis and the recommendation engine. Great. A few things that I also want to add. Um, So platform, as I mentioned, same creative, different results per platform algorithm. Obviously, each creative will perform different. We also look at the type of audiences. Obviously, we want to make sure that the creative that we analyze also looks at the audiences that they are communicated to. Duration, obviously, time variations, formats will require different adjustments and iterations per platform and different stage of the funnel, whether it's engagement, consideration, performance. That takes into account how the analysis and the recommendations are done. A few main takeaways that I would love for you to take from this session. One, creative is a new targeting, and it's a massive data set that you might be missing out. I spoke earlier today with some uh, with someone with a marketer, and he told me, "Yeah, we do a lot of testing. We do a lot of testing, but we were not really sure what makes our creative work." So creative can be a massive data set. It's a new targeting. Make sure that you take advantage of this data set. Second, um, try to understand it. Obviously, there's a lot of by understanding the individual elements or components of an ad, there's a huge impact that you could do on your media performance. Understand that it could differ by platform. So obviously, make sure that you make those iterations or you make those creatives that are unique per creative, and iterate using this analysis to make sure that you're optimizing or maximizing your media metrics. A little bit about us before we finish. We've been in the market for about 3 years, 2.5 years. We're analyzing millions of creatives every year. We work with app as well as non-app brands in multiple verticals: gaming, e-commerce, fintech, and others. Um, typically, typically when customers work with us, see up to 3x ROAS improvement, 200% increase in CTR, and up to 50% of in production costs, because they're basically more focused and more efficient with how they evaluate creative, how they produce creative, and what they focus on. That was me. I hope it was valuable. There's a QR code that will lead you into a special promotion we're running for APS participants. So feel free to scan it. And if there's the team, Jared, Kirsten, and myself are here for the rest of the day. We're more than happy to take conversations and see if we can somehow help you and partner. And I'm happy if there's any questions in the crowd, more than happy to address them.